Hey, Roger LeBlanc here of Lazy Bettor Guides at lazybettorusa.com. We're launching a new product. It's called the Stakes Race Comprehensive Handicapper. We're doing this because of the tremendous success we've had in analyzing stakes races over the past 3 years that we've had our website. Most of those stakes analysis have appeared in the Racetrack Super Scout service that we published. And just to give you an example, this year, in the past 27 stakes races we've covered, we've come up with 13 winners. And that's not unusual. We've been around 50% winners for 3 years now in stakes races that we've analyzed. The strength of those analysis and those reports on stakes races we do come from two sources. The first is my book, The Lazy Bettor's Guide to the Kentucky Derby. In that book, I researched 22 years of prep races for the Kentucky Derby and found pace and final time parameters that horses had to reach in order to have a legitimate shot of winning the Kentucky Derby. Now, occasionally you have a horse like Rich Strike who doesn't fit at all, who wins because the race falls apart or some other reason. But in the 11 years since I published the Lazy Bettor's Guide, our top pick has won the Kentucky Derby 5 times and finished second twice. So those parameters have held up well. In the prologue to that book, Mark Kramer notes that he thinks they could be applied to stakes races of all kinds, not just the Kentucky Derby. And we found that he was correct about that. So we're going to share that success with subscribers, and we've extracted that as the best part of the Racetrack Super Scout into its own report. You can sign up at lazybettorusa.com. The other source that we use is my book, The Punter's Tale, A Quest for Racetrack Profits. In that book, I detail quantifiable ways of determining false favorites. So we look at stakes races, we determine whether the favorite is legitimate or false. And we're going by the morning line, of course, because we're doing this a day early. And then we go from there and figure out who the competitors are, whether they're worth betting, and if there's a false favorite, they're definitely worth betting. So, as part of this report, the Stakes Race Comprehensive Handicapper, we also want to be accountable to our subscribers. So we're going to do a review like this after every weekend to see how our picks and how our analysis held up. So the product launches in October. We're doing this as a trial run. We covered the Pennsylvania Derby in the Racetrack Super Scout last weekend. We came up with 3 contenders there that we talked about in detail in the report. It was Stronghold, Seize the Gray, and Dragoon Guard. So they filled the trifecta. Great job there, except for one thing. We recommended a solo bet on Dragoon Guard. We thought he was superior to the other two and would win. We saw this as a prep race for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Brad Cox probably wanted to get a lot out of this race because Dragoon Guard was coming off of a layoff. This was his one prep for that big race coming up. So he had superior pace and final figures. Seize the Gray, the only time that he won a 2-turn stakes race was when he got a really easy pace in the Preakness. We did not see that happening again, with Dragoon Guard owning pace figures that were superior, and Stronghold also in there with very close pace figures to Seize the Gray. There were also a few horses who like to be up close who we didn't see as contenders but could have been there to push the pace. None of that happened. So what happened? What didn't happen? As I look at the replay of this race, so Dragoon Guard breaks from the 7 posts. Beautiful gray horse. He's accomplished a lot in his 5-race career. His last 2 wins were runaway victories, wire to wire, with no pressure in grade 3 races. I believe if you watch Florent Geroux on the horse, he is obviously strangling the horse back off the pace. I think Brad Cox wanted to teach this horse to rate wanted him to experience getting dirt kicked in his face, and wanted to teach him how to run in traffic. So the problem is that the pace came up super slow. So to put it all in context, Seize the Gray got the lead, and at the 4 furlong mark, he completed that in 49 1/5 second. Earlier in the day, fillies and Pennsylvania State breds in 2-turn races completed their 4 furlongs in about 48 seconds. So Seize the Gray, against better horses supposedly, ran a full second or more slower than lesser horses. He was walking through the opening 4 furlongs, and he's a great sprinter. He's a great 1-turn horse. He won the Pat Day Mile, and he turned this into basically a 1 furlong sprint at the end. As he came into the stretch with fresh legs, he let horses kind of work themselves tired a bit to catch up to him, and then Torres asked him to go, and he had plenty left. So we think this was a questionable teaching moment that Brad Cox was asking of his horse. Bob Baffert and D. Wayne Lucas in their careers, I don't remember them taking a horse with such great natural speed and saying, hey, let's pull him off the pace and let him get roughed up a little and see what he learns from it. They did the opposite. They were like, let's push the button here and see how fast this horse can go and keep on going. Let's test his limits. That's how they treated prep races. Brad Cox has taken another route with this horse, and if this was a prep for the Breeders' Cup Classic, we'll see how it turns out. Now, in the stretch run, Dragoon Guard, he can't run down Seize the Gray. He just gave him too much of an advantage early. But what's impressive, though, is he does run down Stronghold. Stronghold was on the pace. He had that easy pace also, just like Seize the Gray. And when it came to a stretch battle to hold off Dragoon Guard, he just barely did it by a nose. Dragoon Guard made up ground throughout the stretch. So really good stretch run by Dragoon Guard. Bad strategy, or maybe we'll find out it was good strategy if he has to work through traffic in his next race. But that was our analysis. We had the top 3 in the trifecta. We had the wrong horse in the win spot, and we will do better in the future. Thank you for watching. You can check out the Stakes Race Comprehensive Handicapper service at our website, lazybettorusa.com. You can hit like and subscribe here, see more of these reports, see how we're doing along the way. Anyway, thank you for watching. Enjoy the races, and see you again soon.